Okay, I have to tell you about my daughter Eden. She's the most intelligent. She is freaking genius. Um, Hardworking. Worked her way through a master's degree. Um, and we have the most amazing relationship. And this is really the wrong place on Facebook to try to talk about our amazing relationship. And so, but I'm sure she'll approve of me telling you about this because there's no way we would be able to do this, like try to type it out and tell you the story. But what's amazing is that the thing that has like destroyed so many families and organizations and the split, we call it the split. I call it the split. You know, call it what you want. It gets talked about some here and there, but you all know what I'm talking about and the devastation that that's wreaked on so many families. And this church in our neighborhood, I heard it was the Unity Church, a real big church, and half the church left. They're gone. The split. And this, I'm sure, I mean, everywhere there was any kind of a little community like that, it was like, and it's like, wow. And so we had a breakdown a temporary breakdown in our family because here I'm the guy that, had advertised for Alex Jones, I've done my wheatgrass kits and sponsored Alex and Stat Miller and all these things, and the Super Patriot movement in Austin, and me and Eden and her mom, we were as a family back way back. It's like we were the left, and we um, anti-war. I mean, just totally skeptical of the government and calling them on their word. And it came from the hippies, and the hippies were kind of noisy, and a lot of them even militant, kind of noisy and radical about um, people that they thought we called them the paper people. Said someday the paper people are all going to fall on us. but but we were the skeptical. And then when Kennedy got killed, and it's like, oh, you were a conspiracy theorist, if and all that. So anyway, that's the world I came from. Was being with Alex Jones and all that, and Eden and April, we were all together in that. But then later in life, we all went our ways, and then got back together a few years later, and we found out that we lived on the other side of that political divide, the whole perspective, divide thing, and there was breakdown, and because we had been getting together, playing Scrabble, having a great time at Scrabble, and cards and whatever. We'd be at the Whole Foods Cafe, and it was really just a riot. I mean, we laughed until we were in tears, and we've been able to restore that, even though we're living in the split. And that's what I want to tell you about. So stay with me here a minute. We had the terrible breakdown, and then we ended up, back and forth on Facebook, and we unfriended each other and did the whole trip. I mean, it's like the story. You know the story. We're all living it. Um, and then after, oh, I don't know, several months of that, it was like, and with counseling from friends and things, it's like, I've got some wise friends, and it's like, Alia, it's your family, and it's your daughter, and it's not just what people are telling me, though. I mean, Eden is like one of my babies. Well, we joke around about that now, about she's not my little baby now, and she'll make that real clear too. um, anyway, we both had a sense coming about at the same time that we can't let this take us out, and when I think about the split and all of the different powers in the world that benefit for all these different reasons from us being in all this contention and thing, the war machine. I mean, they sell the biggest into the industrial part of it, and yeah, it's so we got together over at her place, and we had tried to kind of, refrain from talking about these things and stuff, and just don't talk about it, just don't talk about it. But that was always like breaking down anyway. And we had a little time together to get a little edgy, and then a failure, and then one day it was like I just was really. I felt like I was really seeing what was going on with the split, and I went over and I said, "Look, Eden," and her man too, Charlie, because this was kind of weird because her man also was from that same perspective, and also her mother, which really surprised me after talking to her after not a couple of years. Um, so this is the card party, right? Um, but I looked at them and I said, "You guys, the way the world is, there are people and powers, and they knew this too. They know this too. Charlie is brilliant, and Eden is brilliant, and they watch a lot of the world, and they know about the powers and manipulation that goes on with medias and things, but from a different perspective, that they look at that from. But they're not stupid people by any means, and you know doing way better than I ever did with life. I'll tell you that. Um, but I said, look, guys, we can't let this take us out, because we've got this, what's going on right here between you and me. This is our relationship. That out there is outside of this, okay? There's things out there that want us not to be here. They want us to not be together, to not be talking to each other, to not be working for each other, with each other. They want us divided. And Charlie and Eden are both able to go that far with me because they see that from their perspective, whatever that perspective is of theirs. Charlie and I have talked about that. They know that about the world. He knows that from his perspective, and a lot of stuff he's talking about is like, hey, you're absolutely right, Charlie. So it's not like we're. But when it came to the conspiracy theory stuff, it was like getting down, and we started talking about 9/11 and things would like blow up, and so. But it was like, look, guys, I need you, you need me. The world is not going to become more stable. It's going to become very messy, and we're going to need each other. We're not going to let them do this to us, are we? And we agreed, no, we're not going to let them do this to us. And so we established more respect for each other's preferences about what we talk about and bring up and definitely don't be contentious with each other about things, certain areas, and kind of when you're getting there. But at the same time, we're kind of a jovial bunch, and there's a lot of levity at our little get-togethers. It's just like, laughing until we're in tears. And I mean now. This thing about what looks like it happened on Facebook, this is why I had to make this video. You need to understand that what Eden and I have is a fucking miracle. That our humanity and our love and devotion to each other, for what we are to each other, nothing's going to get in the way of that. So this kind of breakdown that just happened with that meme that I put up, I want you to know that I have stepped into Eden's space and she has stepped into mine at different times, and we've had different agreements about let's just not go there with each other. And I understand why she mistook what I had put up there because it says family, but it is I guess for the other people on the other side of the split to understand what it's like to be living a life where you're considered the tinfoil hat crowd, and definitely a minority. And and what that does to our lives and how that impacts us, not just you, but us on the other side of the split. And it's not a small camp, this split thing. This is a lot of people. A lot of people's lives go like this. But now, as far as that meme goes, I actually swear to God, Eden, I and you can vouch. You will vouch for me here, I think, and and Charlie would too. That when we do get together now, that we are actually able to kind of poke around with it a little bit and humor our situation and ourselves. Will you vouch for me that we do this? That there are times that we'll say, yeah, I'm feeling a little, I don't know, headachy today, but the chemtrails were beautiful, and everybody will laugh, and and we'll but if it goes into an area that's just whatever area it is, and it's different areas for different people, that it's getting to where, yeah, that wouldn't be an, a conversation with good ends or productive or good for anything at all, and really things that we don't have a lot of power over anyway. Most of them. I mean, what good is it going to do if I to the world if I change Charlie's mind about the world? It's going to make a fellow fucking beans difference. So, but I just had to set that straight because this communication breakdown, and I'm telling you, this is what they want. They don't want us having communication, because communication is relationship. That's what's going on here, and they don't want that. Isn't that a conspiracy, though? Okay, maybe we'll talk about. No, let's not talk about that. You see, so we have to laugh at ourselves. What was that? Gosh, if you couldn't humor it, you'd have to cry. Andy Wakefield told me that. I said, Andy, how do you and Carmel get through your marriage like that after all these years? And he said, oh, my grandma told me, or my mother told me, if we couldn't humor ourselves, we'd have to cry. So I love you all. I mean, God, Jason, Laura, whoever's, entered into this little conversation, and you might have thought you had a perspective on it. I just needed to let you know that you don't, and you're looking at a fucking miracle. Because how many families have been able to do this and get back together and have awesome food with the most awesome people? I mean, the smartest fucking people in the world. And I won't tell you what they all do for livings and all that stuff, but they're all very, very powerful in their own life, and they know that how much they know the real me, and I know the real them, and this stuff is going to come up. And I don't make videos to. I mean, I goof around with videos to goof around with videos, but there's really no good that could have come from a conversation in text on Facebook. Because what I wanted them to vouch for was that I would have shown them that meme at that party, or when I was getting ready to post that to Facebook, I was actually thinking, I could private message this to Eden or something, or Charlie, and that, like, not maybe not at a bad time, but at a time like, say, we're going to be getting together and everybody's doing a group text, right? And they'll say, yeah, this and that, and it gets kind of fun and jokey around, like, and then if I were to post that right then, me coming to the family gathering, they would have fucking lost it laughing, man. Okay, so that's how our relationship is, and that's because our relationship with each other is more important than the powers that benefit from division in the world. Plus, the food is fucking great. and the games are a blast. And we all go home real fat and happy and hugging, and that's how it's been.